In the final part of tonight's class, we said, so what is the exact amount of effort we're supposed to make? Not too little, we know what that is. Not too much, we know what that is. What is the right amount? Please listen to find out. If you can, please subscribe, share with someone who can benefit, and drop a link.
What I wanted to do was discuss, so we spoke about what's too much, and we spoke about what's too little, and now we want to know what's perfectly right? Not too much, not too little. I want what's absolutely perfect. Perfectly right is, our sages say, this is in the Gemara, if you didn't work and you say you succeeded, don't believe that person. If you worked and say you didn't succeed, don't believe that person. And if you worked and you succeeded, believe that person. Very strong work ethic, very clear message of the sages. It was actually very interesting because the Lubavitcher Rebbe selected that as one of the 12 Torah thoughts that every person, or at least every child, should say or think about every single day, because it's giving us a perspective on life. What's the Torah's perspective on life? How do our sages want to look at work? Yes, we need effort, and our effort will produce. If we try, we will succeed. I can't say every day, but very often when I say this with my 9-year-old Down syndrome child, I try to really convey the message very strongly because I want it to be something he's going to internalize and know. What are your limits? Just keep pushing. You don't have to have any limits. If we work hard, we will succeed. And this applies to this whole concept of, so how much is the perfect measure of physical efforts? We got to work. Only work creates success, even though very often in this realm of working to create the miracle, it's not that our work creates it. It's just we need to work. I have seen very often, I don't know if anyone else has, you can raise your virtual hand if you'd like, that I'm trying to do something and I try, and then from a completely different direction, it works. I did not go in that direction, but I did do whatever I could do, and then God opened the door in a different direction. Like if somebody was trying to have a shidduch, trying to find a mate, and they called this matchmaker and this matchmaker and this matchmaker, and then it comes from a totally different person, a totally different source. So were they wasting their time calling those matchmakers? No, not at all. They were trying, and therefore they succeeded. It's not that their efforts created the success. It's that God demands effort, and if you try, he's now able to give you success through your efforts or through anything else. And again, I have experienced this many times. So how do we reconcile this idea that we said before, when you're working in the physical plane, that's the bottom of the totem pole, trusting in God is more important, adding in spiritual efforts is more important, the least important is all those physical efforts. How do you reconcile with, you need to work, and the sages said we have to work, and often we see that only after we put forth effort do things happen, even when our efforts don't linearly create the success. So I think the bar we can use in our own mind, it's a flexible bar. But the bar that really best answers this question is, and it's a theoretical bar I have to ask myself, if someone was not worried or stressed over this over this issue, how much effort would they expend? If something's going on in your life and you want to make sure you're doing, but you want to make sure you're not overdoing, but you want to make sure you're doing enough, the question to ask yourself is, if I had no stress, if I had no fear, if I had no tension or worry, what would I do? That's what I'm supposed to do. If I had no concerning medical issue, would I just call my doctor and get the next appointment available? That's what I'm supposed to do. If it's a concerning medical issue. If my daughter was the most eligible girl on the block, would I reach out to one or two matchmakers or network in another way every 2 months? And that's it? That's what I should do, even though she's getting older. But maybe you'd say, no. If my daughter was the most eligible girl on the block, I would reach out every other week without concern. That would be my protocol. Okay, so that's what you should do. If you were looking for a job, stress-free, you don't need money, you've got amazing degrees, you've got valuable experience, and you would still every day send out your resume through a different search engine, that's what you should do. Even if you feel enormous pressure that you must have this job yesterday. Well, what if you would only send your resume once a week? Well, that's what you should do. Even if you feel that enormous pressure that you must have this job yesterday. So what I'm trying to say is there's not like one protocol. It's not a one size fits all because we're all different in how much we would do in any case. How often do you water your plants? How often do you clean under your couch? We're all different. But whatever is your norm, whatever is normal for you, when you don't have stress, when you don't feel a pressure, when you just are doing what you would normally do in this situation, that's what you should continue to do when it's a much more difficult situation. Now,
wait,
yes.
Karen,
Yes.
but things will change depending on where you're holding. If you're at 19, let's say, and you're dating, okay, you might look into two different, shadchanim. When you're let's say 30, 35, you may want to reach out to 5 or 6 because there's a little more pressure.
So that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm responding to. If when you were 19, you were in connection with 2 shadchanim, when you're 35, you should also be in connection with 2 shadchanim. You don't need to do it because that's not what's going to create your marriage. God is. So you don't need to waste your efforts there. You just need to do the same thing. How about somebody who
wants a baby?
Whatever efforts you would make to have a baby, obviously if you need medical effort, you need medical effort. But whatever the medical effort is, it doesn't have to get more intense because the medical intervention is not creating the child. God is. Now, I will say, if you really want to do more, and you want to call the shadchan twice a day, and you want to send out your resume 3 times a day, and you want to get the 5th medical opinion on your situation, it's okay. No one should feel any guilt that what they're doing is not okay. It's okay, but it's not necessary. What's not okay is if you start believing in it. And that's a very fine line. Because why am I going to the 5th doctor? Because I think the doctor is going to create the child? Why am I going to the 17th shadchan? Because I think the shadchan is going to create my marriage? Usually people that do that start believing on some level that the more shadchanim that know my name, the more doctors that know my profile, that know my portfolio, the more chances I have for it happening. Then you lost it. You completely lost it. Then that's too much. And even if you went to 2 doctors, if that's what you're thinking, it's too much. So that's why the advice is don't do more than you would regularly do. Do normal range effort as if there was no stress, even though now officially there is one. Because if you do more than that, you believe, or are acting like you believe, that these efforts are going to create the cure. So why to go to a doctor at all? Well, we spend a long time discussing why you have to go to a doctor. But why go to more? Because the doctor is not giving you the cure. God is. So why are you going to a doctor? Because God wants you to. How am I going to get the cure? Trust, act spiritually, and do the normal medical protocol. I don't have to do more than that because that's not creating it anyway. God is. But again, if that's too stressful for you, if it creates fear, if it creates panic, if it's a sense of, oh my gosh, to serve God, I can't go to this other doctor and I really want to because maybe, breathe. It's okay. You could go. Just keep reminding yourself, He's not creating my child. He's not creating my health. He's not creating my cure, or she. God is. Only God is. So if you're feeling stressed and nervous because you can't do more, it's okay. You could do more. But you have to work very hard not to believe in it. As long as you don't believe in it, it's not counterproductive. It's just not necessary. Once you believe in it, it's counterproductive. So you could say, well, that sounds so weird, because if you don't believe in it, why would you do it? Because sometimes people want to feel they're doing something. And it's fine. If doing something makes you feel better, keep doing it. But work on reminding yourself again and again, this is not creating my salvation. My salvation comes from God. So sort of the overarching test is, am I stressed and pressured or calm and trusting? If I'm doing deliberately very little, but I'm stressed and pressured and believe that what I'm doing is creating the cure, it's wrong. So it's not so much how much I'm doing. It's more your mindset. Is my mindset, it's only God, it's only God, it's only God, and I'm going to work, it's not natural for us, of course, but I'm going to work on being calm and centered and trusting Him. It's a very delicate balance between knowing God wants physical and knowing it's not supposed to be intense or ever conflict with my Judaism. And I'm supposed to have effort, but I'm not supposed to believe in the effort. And bottom line, which we didn't really say here, and then I'm going to take Elisa's question and then we're going to stop. For this to be God's system in all of the above examples, which I didn't really focus on because that was sort of like the obvious, but didn't mention it, but just want to mention this important point. For this to be the way God wants it in all of the above examples, we have to make sure as we're working in the physical plane, we are stretching more in the spiritual. How big a stretch? As per how big the miracle you need and how important it is for you to get it. How big the miracle I need, how important it is for you to get it, that determines how much spiritually I need to stress. Elisa, what was your question?
Thank you. You answered it.
Thank you. Good. I would have taken it right away, but I just was like, it's so late. Let me at least get through this piece because people are going to probably go off and then I'll answer your question. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry for keeping people over. I just felt like we're in the middle of this. Let's just get through it, understand it, apply it. None of us should need to use this, but we might. And if we don't, we probably have friends that do. Thank you so much for joining. Have a wonderful week.
Good night.